It's time to compare Incogni and Privacy Bee. Which one of these personal data removal services is better and which one should you get? Also, if it's your first time watching one of these comparisons and you have no idea what a personal data deletion service even is, then keep watching because I'll tell you all about it. Oh, and a quick disclaimer, as always, Incogni is a product created within Surfshark and is part of the Surfshark One Plus bundle. But now, let's get into the video. Okay, so what is a personal data deletion service? And more importantly, why should you even care about getting one? What problem is it trying to solve exactly? Well, it really all begins with the internet. And don't get me wrong, the internet is a wonderful invention. It truly is. But as it grew and evolved, one thing that we started doing is inputting more and more of our personal data online. Sometimes this was done voluntarily, like creating an account on social media using your real name so that your friends or your colleagues can recognize you and know that it's you and not someone else. But sometimes companies can also request our personal information for different purposes like identification and/or marketing reasons, like asking for your email address to get a discount and so on. Now, while this might seem harmless at first, but if you give it just a bit more thought, you realize that this information can be collected and later on sold or exploited for bad practices. And in fact, there are companies called data brokers who essentially collect information from different sources online, like court filings, social media accounts, browsing history, online purchases, loyalty programs, and so much more. Then, once they collect various different pieces of personal information, they can build a profile of you. Think about it. If a data broker has your name, age, home address, email address, phone number, employment history, medical history, they can create a very valuable profile of you that can then be sold to whoever would want it. Be it marketing companies to give you more relevant ads, scammers so they can use that information and call you and/or send scam messages to try and trick you, or even insurance companies so they could jack up your insurance bill. And before you even ask, yes, this is actually perfectly legal, at least in the US where privacy laws are weak compared to places like the EU. But hey, this video isn't about comparing regulations of different countries or regions or discussing politics. However, there are laws in the US and the EU that allow you to rightfully and legally request these data brokers to delete your personal information that they've collected. For example, the state of California has the CCPA law, and many other states have their own respectful laws as well to give you the legal right to remove your information. Now, the fact that these laws exist is great, but there is just one problem. How do you A, know which of those hundreds of data broker companies have your information to request deletions from, or B, find the appropriate steps you need to take to delete it? Oh, and perhaps most importantly, C, find the time to go through all the forms and all the emailing back and forth that you have to do with these data brokers if you want your data to be fully deleted. And if that's not bad enough, some data brokers tend to recollect your data sometime after it's been erased. This perfectly segues into personal data deletion services like Incogni and Privacy Bee, which for the most part basically automate the whole personal information deletion process for you. Sounds like magic? Well, it's not. And picking the right service is key to protect your privacy and actually reduce your online footprint. So let's finally get into our comparison of Incogni versus Privacy Bee. When it comes to comparing these services, the easiest and most objective number to look at is the amount of data brokers that each service covers. Privacy Bee claims to be able to remove data from over 900 different data brokers, while Incogni markets that it can cover a much more conservative number of 420 or more data brokers. Now, before we can declare a clear winner here, there's a few important aspects we need to consider first. Number one is that this marketed data broker coverage number on a lot of these services can be rather misleading. For instance, Privacy Bee's 900 data broker number is true, but also kind of false. What I mean by that is that if you think about it, the whole point of getting a personal data deletion service is that it does all the work for you, right? So that you don't have to contact a data broker and email them or go to their website to find the deletion form you have to fill up. All that takes a lot of time. You expect your personal data deletion service to do all the busy work for you. That's really the whole point. Unfortunately, in our testing, we found out that out of that Privacy Bee's impressive 900 data bro coverage number, number, only around 200 to 300 brokers were covered automatically. And that's a very key distinction there. That's only 20 to 30% of the advertised number. Incogni, on the other hand, doesn't give you false numbers in their marketing, so the 420 data brokers that you see is what you get, meaning that Incogni will actually cover the whole number automatically for you. But you see, another important aspect to remember is that data brokers can actually be split into several categories. The most common ones are people search sites that are essentially the online version of those thick phone books people used to have containing people's contact information. Using these sites, you can find someone's basic info like their name, phone number, and employment or social media presence, and relatives information. However, there are also data brokers like marketing ones that collect and track information like what you buy online. There's also a category of private data brokers, which can be split into risk mitigation data brokers, recruitment data brokers, and financial information data brokers. Each one of them also collects different pieces of information about you, all tied to your name. Now, why did I just explain all of this? Well, one problem that we see in the personal data deletion service industry is that most of these services only tackle public data brokers, those being the aforementioned people search sites and marketing data brokers. And this is a big problem because if your data is collected by different types of data brokers, but your data removal service only removes information from one type, you're essentially leaving some of your data on the table to continue being sold. Not good. Unfortunately, that's one of the key weaknesses of many of these services, like I mentioned, and unfortunately, that includes Privacy Bee. Yes, Privacy Bee has an impressive amount of people search sites and marketing data brokers, but that's really all that it covers. Once again, compared to Incogni, it's very different as it covers all data broker types that are out there, meaning it should help you clean up your personal information online much better overall. But forget the data broker numbers. What about the pricing? Because if you can't afford it, you ain't having it. Well, Incogni evidently is one of the most affordable personal data deletion services out there, with the base plan coming in at just $8 per month and the more premium unlimited plan coming in at $15 per month. Oh, and actually, since Incogni is a product from Surfshark, you can get it included with the Surfshark One Plus bundle at just $399 per month at surfshark.com. With this bundle, you'll get an Incogni base plan as well as all the Surfshark features like Surfshark VPN, email masking, antivirus, private searches, malware detection, and so much more. But now, moving on to Privacy Bee, things are a bit different as it offers 3 plans in total. First is the Essentials plan, coming in at $8 per month. This is essentially your most basic plan, pardon the pun. Then there's the Pro plan starting at $18 per month, and lastly, the most prestigious Signature plan is a whopping $67 per month, which is evidently quite pricey. We will discuss the user experience with each service in just a bit and explain which features are available at which tiers and how it felt to using the service in general. However, before we do that, let's just also quickly cover customer service that you can get with both products. Incogni offers a 24/7 live chat and email support, and actually when contacting Incogni's support, I got a response in less than a minute, well actually in less than 30 seconds, and Incogni's support rep was super quick to answer any questions that I had. On the other hand, Privacy Bee also has a combination of live chat and email support. However, their live chat was just a robot and I couldn't get access to a real human, which wasn't ideal. I mean, call me old-fashioned, but I just prefer getting support from actual real humans instead of robots. If I had to pick a winner here, I'd go with Incogni again, as their responses were super quick and they work across all time zones, which is great if you are located in the EU or anywhere in the world. Now, with all that being said, let's talk about what it's actually like to use both Incogni and Privacy Bee as just your normal everyday user who's trying to get their data deleted from these data brokers online. Let's start with Incogni. Signing up to the service was super easy at incogni.com. It's as simple as picking your preferred plan and creating an account. After that, you'll be prompted to enter the bare minimum of personal information so that Incogni can identify your profiles and data within data broker databases. This is actually a pretty standard practice in the personal data deletion service industry, as that's really the only way for someone like Incogni or Privacy Bee to know what data to look for and delete. Right after doing that, you'll be on the main Incogni dashboard screen. Here you'll immediately see a graph that will show you how your data removal requests are processed over time so you can follow the progress as time goes on. Well, actually, you won't see this graph until a bit later after Incogni begins sending out requests, which should start in an hour or so after you sign up. So the blue line indicates how many of these requests are in progress, while the green one shows how many of them are completed. Below the graph, Incogni also shows you how much time you saved by using using it. Here you can see that I already saved over 250 hours, which is probably enough time to get a commercial pilot's license. Pretty crazy, I know. Next to that, you also see how many data brokers have put you into a suppression list. This ties back to the point we made earlier about some data brokers recollecting your data after it's been deleted. So if a data broker puts you on a suppression list, it essentially means that they will not recollect your data again. Finally, at the very bottom, you'll find the activity log, which just shows what Incogni has been doing to keep your data off the internet and data brokers. Now, if you want even more details on how Incogni has been doing, as well as follow the progress, you can press here on data brokers to see more information. In this menu, you can review which data brokers have been compliant, which ones have collected perhaps more sensitive data, and therefore are marked as high severity. You can also search for specific data brokers by name and/or filter the list by compliance score, severity score, or status. A similar menu, but for individual requests, can also be accessed here at the top. So overall, this is fantastic, as Incogni really allows you to get into the nitty-gritty details of how it works, what it's doing to delete your data from these data brokers, and is overall very transparent. If you opted for Incogni's unlimited plan, you can also access the custom removals feature, again, here from the top menu. To best explain this feature, if there's a website that you know your data is on, but that website is not supported by Incogni's default data broker coverage, then this is where this custom removals feature comes into play. Simply put in the URL of whatever data broker website that has your data, and one of the Incogni's privacy experts will start working on removing it from there. Now, as you use Incogni, each month Incogni will send you a privacy report to your email inbox, basically giving you a quick summary of how it's been working and telling you how many requests were sent, completed, and etc. So really, you don't have to manually go into the Incogni website dashboard if you don't want to. All in all, Incogni does its job well. It has a wide data broker coverage, gives you transparent view of what and how it's removing data from data brokers, and to top it all off, has a clean interface for easy navigation. The last thing to say about Incogni is that it also has just released a mobile app, which makes reviewing your data deletion progress even easier. Currently only available on Android, but the app is coming to iOS very soon as well. But as far as using Incogni goes, that's pretty much everything you need to know. Now let's talk about what it's like to use Privacy Bee. Just like with Incogni, Privacy Bee experience starts with you picking out the plan that you'd like and creating an account. One nice thing about Privacy Bee that I have to give props for is that it lets you try out the service and get the feel for it without spending the money. Basically a free trial, if you will. Though it will just show you how exposed you are without deleting any of your data, and that's about it. Speaking of which, once you're on the dashboard, right at the top, you'll see your privacy forecast, which, similar to Incogni, indicates the progress of your data being deleted over time. Next to it, you'll also see the number of exposed data found, but again, not sure if it's supposed to show the number of data points or the number of data brokers that the data was on, as that does sort of inflate the numbers and gives you a false sense of how the service is actually working. Below that, we can also see the number of privacy risk score. This number tries to tell you what's the approximate risk of you experiencing either a cyber attack or identity theft or many other awful things that can happen as a result of your data being sold, many of which we spoke about earlier. Of course, this risk score is a bit arbitrary, but it's still a nice way of indicating how much trouble you might be in. Next to it, you also see the number of removals requested, as well as the total number of information, or I presume data points removed. And lastly, at the bottom, you'll find the activity section, similar to Incogni. By selecting excruciating detail, here you can then access the inner workings of Privacy Bee, seeing what it is doing hour by hour, like what company it's detecting to have your data, when the scam was performed, what the next action is to handle it, etc. Moving to another item on the dashboard menu now, called Family tab, where you can add extra family members at the same price you paid for your own subscription. Moving right along, there's also a Companies tab. This was a really neat feature that some might actually find quite useful. Essentially, Privacy Bee allows you to select trusted companies that you may want to have your data. Now, I know this sounds kind of weird, but listen, I know this might sound counterintuitive, keeping in mind that the type of service we're discussing here, but it does make sense that there would be companies that you may want to keep having your data for ease of use or access. Like if there's a game or a program that needs to have it so you can use it without losing access to that service or content or etc. Now, if we go to account settings, we can actually access some other features from Privacy Bee. One is called Blur My House, and well, it will blur your house satellite view from Google Maps and Apple Maps. This change is permanent though, so keep that in mind. The last thing to know about Privacy Bee is that it does have a browser extension, but as far as I'm aware, it's only on Firefox. Alright, it's conclusion time. Incogni versus Privacy Bee. Which personal data deletion service is better? So honestly, this was kind of an easy one to decide on. Privacy Bee's biggest problem is actually its pricing. It's by far one of the most expensive personal data deletion services out there. In fairness, the base plan called Essentials is more affordable at $8 per month, but you don't get a lot of features if you go with that plan. Most importantly, wider data broker coverage, because for that you'll need to jump one tier up to Pro, and that goes for $18 per month for the annual plan, which is again really pricey. And just like a lot of other personal data deletion services, Privacy Bee, while has an impressive people search size coverage, it lacks coverage for many other data broker types. Not only that, at least according to our testing, only 200 or 300 of those 900 plus data brokers that Privacy Bee claims to remove data from are actually automated, which while is still a nice number, means you'll have to do a lot of manual back and forth removals with a lot of these data brokers. I could mention a few other minor gripes I had with the overall UI, like how it wasn't clear to me the first time how to access some of the pro features. For all these reasons and more, I would just go with Incogni if you had to pick one of these two services. I mean, to start, Incogni is a lot cheaper. In fact, the most expensive Incogni plan is similar to Privacy Bee's Pro plan, except that with Incogni, it will also let you add up to 5 family members to delete their data too. The value is just so much better on the Incogni side. Not to mention, you can get Incogni with Surfshark One Plus bundle if you need additional online privacy protection features. But pricing aside, Incogni is just an overall higher quality service as it covers more data broker types and handles more data brokers automatically for you. And even going further beyond, Incogni is just more transparent in its advertising, like data broker coverage numbers. It doesn't overpromise, and I think that shows Incogni's dedication to providing a good service to its customers. For any discussions about these two personal data deletion services, drop a comment below and let's talk about it. But now, click on this video next where we go a bit deeper talking about this whole data broker problem and really dive deep on why this issue exists and what are the best ways to protect your data. I'll see you in that video, but now take care and have a good one.